I'm Rachel Brulé from New York University, based in Abu Dhabi and affiliated in New York as well.
I'm Gaikwad from Columbia University in the city of New York. Our paper is entitled Culture, Capital and the Political Economy Gender Gap, Evidence from Meghalaya's Matrilineal Tribes. Our study sets out to answer a fundamental question in political science. What explains persistent global inequalities in how men and women participate politically and demand redistribution through the welfare state? Debates over centuries have deadlocked about whether it is cultural norms or material resources that explain women's relative disadvantage in politics. The problem is that disentangling the relationship between culture and material resources is challenging in societies where both factors disadvantage women. This is true for most societies in the world.
We study a unique region in Northeast India where matrilineal groups distribute wealth from mothers to daughters and patrilineal groups do so from fathers to sons. Importantly, matrilineal groups are not matriarchal. Men hold social and political power there as they do in patrilineal societies. Because both groups we study are subject to the same patriarchal structures and political institutions, this allows us to isolate the impact of cultural norms about wealth on the gender gap. We conducted a large-scale face-to-face survey with men and women from both societies. Employing a novel mix of survey experiments, behavioral games, and in-depth ethnographic interviews, we find striking results.
Among the patrilineal groups, a conventional gender gap emerges. Men are more likely than women to participate politically and to demand a smaller welfare state. But amongst the matrilineal groups, the gender gap reverses. It is women who are much more likely to go out to the polls and to hold their political representatives accountable. In addition, policy preferences converge among men and women in the matrilineal groups, where both genders jointly manage resources and household budgets.
Our findings demonstrate that neither culture nor material resources alone explain the gender gap. Rather, it's the interaction of the two that is essential. Culture influences political behavior and preferences by structuring individual access to economic resources. Our theory can help us understand how a much broader set of social norms, such as those about labor market participation and investment in education and skills accumulation, can impact the political representation of disadvantaged groups worldwide. It's an incredible honor to have received this award through the Midwest Political Science Association for the best paper presented overall last year in 2017, as well as the best paper presented in comparative politics. And for us, this really helps us kind of have a great deal of confidence in the fact that we do get credit for asking these big existential questions from politics that have remained unanswered after centuries of political debate about this. So we took a big risk by going to this really unique place to try to help us answer this question, and it really inspires us and kind of lifts us up to say, yes, it's worthwhile to ask these questions. People are listening, and they're curious about the answers, and they believe it's important for the advancement of political science. So we just want to thank the awards committee and the association overall for giving us this honor.
And we're really inspired by these awards in terms of the opportunities we think we will have to continue developing this research agenda and really pursuing ways in which culture and economic resources can interact to shape political economy preferences and political participation amongst members of disadvantaged communities.
And so we plan in the future to take these questions outside of just the scope of what men versus women do in this esoteric part of the world, but rather to say, how does the interaction of culture and material resources affect disadvantaged groups, not just in gender, but talking about sexual groups, talking about, in terms of sexual identity, thinking about what happens for groups who are members of disadvantaged castes and races, expanding not just across India, but looking across the world, ideally across the Middle East, and extending to places like South America in the future. So we can't thank the association enough for helping us in this process.